Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Here's my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1986's RAD. We assume if you're listening to the episode, you've already seen the movie. And I had never seen this movie before.
I had heard of it.
Oh, yeah. It's firmly cemented itself in pop culture. I've never seen it. Never had the urge.
Yeah, me neither. But we didn't have to have the urge because, for those who are not aware, this was our November fan pick. And this is the third time that we've gotten a pick from Craig. So if you guys are tired of his picks, maybe vote for something else in the Twitter polls. But let's see why he picked this movie, shall we?
Yes.
So the reason that he wrote in our nice little questionnaire is that I watched this movie as a kid and remembered it being really cool. Also, haven't watched it for over 30 years.
Yeah. Having seen the movie now, I know for a fact if I saw this when I was a kid, it would be one of my favorites. Kind of different coming into it in 2021, though.
I don't see how. Times haven't changed that much since 86.
I've also never really found an interest in movies focusing on like BMX or cycling or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I think the whole thing with the extreme sports ones is that they're often just an avenue for a story they're trying to tell.
Story?
You know what I mean? Like, for example, we reviewed Prayers of the Roller Boys.
Oh, amazing movie.
There was no reason for them to be on rollerblades.
No, that's true.
The whole movie was about the character, the drug dealing, the rundown neighborhood, but
yeah,
they just happened to be a gang on rollerblades, right?
Yeah. I feel like they just threw that in because it was so popular at the time, whereas BMXing at that time, incredibly popular, and they just tried to build a story around the sport.
Well, I think that just like the Prayer of the Roller Boys example, and we'll see some scenes in this movie where the BMXs are clearly just haphazardly thrown in there, that this is just a movie about a guy trying to find himself. And, the final confrontation could have just been a street fight between the two characters. It really didn't matter what sort of competition it was, right?
I kind of want to see that movie.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, it could have been darts. It could have been bowling. It really doesn't matter that it was BMXing, except for the fact that at the time, BMXing was very popular, and that was going to be the hook to get people in the theater. But It's not, like, BMXing is not necessary to the plot.
No. But they definitely took the time to let it shine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't as much of an afterthought, so that's enough skirting around the issue. Do you have any more tidbits, or do we dive into this now?
Well, I do want to point out before we get into this that it was directed by Hal Needham. I don't think you know that name.
Come on, man.
And I also don't think you saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the most recent Tarantino film.
Stop it.
Okay. Well, in Hollywood, Leonardo DiCaprio is an actor who's, he's hit his peak and he's on his way out. But he's always had the same stuntman, which was played by Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt's character in that movie is strongly based off of Hollywood stuntman Hal Needham, the director of this movie. And after knowing that, a lot of this movie makes much more sense.
Not to me, but okay.
And also going into this, I was fully expecting Montage the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a decent amount.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get into it. Because I was right. The movie opens with a BMX trick montage. But a wicked song, and somehow it hooked me and I was already sold.
I am going to tell you right now, love the soundtrack to this movie.
It's great.
I am an 80s music junkie. Like, for some people to know a little bit more about me, a lot of the times when I'm working, at home, I work remotely most of the time, I'll have a YouTube playlist up of 80s music or 80s movie themes just playing as my background noise.
Oh, the themes. Okay.
Well, I mean, soundtrack songs, they don't always go to the exact theme, but, this is absolutely right up my alley, and this movie did not disappoint.
Yeah, it was great. Almost every song in this is not only perfect unto itself, but perfectly used.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the montage, like I said earlier, it takes 4 minutes and 27 seconds before the movie actually starts. And while watching like jumps and everything on these bikes, I'm sold on those. It looks great. But that stupid little pogo move that they do all of the time is really annoying and unimpressive.
I agree, and I would have preferred it if these tricks were happening in not a stationary shot. Just seeing the one area of them rolling around and doing tricks, have them moving, going through an obstacle course, something. It was just luckily I was right into it because the song got me. Yeah,
it was just showing off tricks and I guess kind of setting the tone, but not really. Anyway, newspapers are dropped off at a fire hydrant in a desolate area of the small town of Cochrane. Teenagers Crew, Bill Allen, Luke, and Becky grab the delivery and set out on their paper routes. Now, I had a problem writing these notes because Luke's name is only mentioned 3 times in the movie and Becky's name is only mentioned once. And she's not even in the scene when they mention her name. So writing these notes, I just had Crew, blank, and blank, and had to go through the movie repeatedly to try and catch these names.
I actually did catch their names.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just stupid. All right.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't clear to me.
So here's a first example of how this wouldn't work today, is because they're not going to have that many newspapers to deliver.
No.
Nowadays, that bundle of people subscribed to the newspaper is going to be much smaller.
Each person gets 6.
There'd be no need for anybody but one. And the terminology, I don't understand. I think he said, let's walk this?
I missed that.
Yeah, some weird slang. And I'm like, what, you're on bikes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. All I can say is that I was lucky they gave me time to digest this because we go into another montage.
Well, yeah, you got to break it up a little.
Yeah.
Also,
a delivery montage.
Real quick, how old is Crew supposed to be?
40.
No, his character.
Oh. He has to be 17, right?
I mean, he's taking his SATs, so unless he's been really dragging his feet on it for a few years, yeah.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about the sky?
I didn't notice anything about the sky, but go for it.
It was bright red and obviously edited to make it look like early morning, but it looked like an apocalypse.
I missed that entirely.
Because they didn't tint the entire sky. The bottom part of the sky above the mountain range is still bright blue.
Oh,
so
that's
it looks
why.
Looks like a bomb went off somewhere nearby.
That's why. I missed it. It was camouflaged.
Yeah. In the montage, though, the deliveries confused me. I don't know how he knew to deliver a paper to a fire truck with its lights going, driving down the road.
Yeah, I had the same thought. He clearly makes a note of it that he's trying to beat, a certain record time.
Yeah.
But so many of these things happen outside of the norm that they couldn't control. And
also, the most confusing one? Crew delivers a single newspaper to a 7-Eleven, which sells newspapers.
The one that confused me the most wasn't even Crew. It was Becky delivering to the 2 guys in a boat fishing.
Yeah, that too.
They gotta be fishing in that spot every morning for that to work out.
Cycling through the store, through yards, I understand.
Through the store was hilarious because the clerk, and the very beginning of this movie, a lot of the dialogue from all of the characters sounds like it was dubbed over, at least in the version that I watched.
Oh yeah, totally.
But they have this ridiculously dubbed voice for the clerk, and he's like, I'm not running a track, you guys on your crazy bikes. It's just what are you talking about?
That's terrible. During part of the montage, we do get introduced to Burton Timmer, who's played by the amazing Ray Walston. as his coffee is knocked out of his hand by a rogue newspaper. Interesting character, Timmer, because I'm never entirely sure what he does.
He's a local businessman who runs a store. That's pretty clear.
Does he run a store, though? I just know him as a man with a lot of money, an old man with money.
Well, it looked like he was going to open a store for business, but
Yeah.
I guess all you need to know is he's a man with money who also likes to bike around. Not on a BMX, but on a bicycle. Because, he's the older generation. And these punk kids have their crazy bikes now.
True, but the fact that he's on a bicycle, I find really plays into his character arc throughout the film. And by throughout the film, I mean in the last 20 minutes.
Yes. I mean, the first line he says is something, I forget exactly what he says, but it's like, we'd be better off without you kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you kind of realize that the population relies on kids, right? Like, that's how this happens.
And this town is not big.
No.
No, the population is minute. I found it weird how Crew discovers the sign for the upcoming Hell Track BMX race by ramming through a fence.
Yeah, you'd think that fence would only take so many times that it could be opened like that.
Yeah, but it looks like he uses his head to do it.
No, what are helmets? Get out of here.
And need I remind you that this is still a montage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he went through the fence after a garbage man lifted a dumpster for him to hop over the fence while he was riding on it.
And he just leaned back on it.
Yep. Well, to the side, but yeah.
Yeah, he had to strike a cool pose.
So essentially, the garbage man is there every day to pick him up on a dumpster.
Yeah. Which I find strange because, as you brought up, he's already trying to beat his time for deliveries. So he's always going to show up at a different time as he tries to cut his time back more and more.
Well, that's why the garbage man was the one who's like pointing at his wrist like, you're behind, hurry it up. But,
yeah, you think it'd be the other way. Shit, you were early.
Why does the garbage man go there every day?
Yeah, there's not that many people in the town, as I said. There's no way that dumpster's filling up every day.
Garbage trucks do a different route every day. If the town is small enough that they only are big enough to have one route, he's not going to go every day. How much garbage is this town amassing?
Well, I mean, it is a garbage town.
Wait, did they say where it is?
Cochrane, which is actually filmed in Cochrane, Alberta.
So this is in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I didn't see any igloos.
I know, it was a shock.
Yeah, I thought forget BMXing. This is all about snowshoeing.
No moose, nothing.
Yeah.
Continuing the montage, still, Crew almost takes out 4 fellow students on his way to school.
Not just Crew, because his friends who are also delivering papers follow behind, because that's, I guess, their bottleneck meetup point.
So it's safe to assume that Crew sucks and everybody dislikes him.
Well, not everybody. He's got at least 2 friends.
And that's just it. Everybody pretty much likes Crew. Yeah, he's kind of a loser character, but everything he does in this movie so far shows him to be a piece of shit.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay. Unlikable.
Sure, yeah.
Our trio walk down a hallway, and the friends make fun of Crew's crush on Kate. Or Katie, who never really seems to amount to a character in this film. Gets one more scene?
It's really just to, I guess, further cement that, like you were saying, he's more of the loser character because he's constantly getting rejected by the one girl. But I didn't really feel it was necessary to set that up.
No, and if you're going to, show it to us at least a couple of more times. Because Katie is a throwaway character.
Such a throwaway character.
Well, we cut to the most boring-looking assembly of all time. Like a town meeting where there's maybe 30 adults.
If that.
Duke Best, played by Jack Weston, is the president of the Federation of American Bicyclists and also the owner of Mongoose Racing. He's in town to promote the Hell Track race, and I'm not sure why they would pick such a small town, but the winner gets $100,000 and a new Corvette.
Yep.
I'm unfamiliar with 80s BMX races, but that seems like a lot of money and an expensive car to give away in a tiny mountain town.
Well, I mean, it's just that they picked the town. All of the actual competitors at this moment are being brought in from out of town.
Yeah, and I guess it would make sense considering the Hell Track itself is mainly nature-based.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I'll give them that one. Best tries to convince the townsfolk that this race will do a great thing for promoting the town, which goes back to my previous point. I don't know how. There's nothing there.
Well, and I guess the idea would be that, like, people would travel to watch, like, audience, right, would go to watch this special event. It's kind of like a wrestling event, right? Like a pay-per-view or something where people will travel to see it.
Yeah,
right.
And they will have to, because that town is in the middle of a valley surrounded by mountains.
But it makes sense that they wouldn't pick a town like this, because if a big race like Hell Race was going to bring in tourists and bring in tourist money, which would be the appeal for the town, host this race, you'll make money because people will be bringing in money to your local retail and just kind of boosting your economy.
Have you seen that local retail, though?
Well, this is what I'm getting at. But at the same time, you have to have a town that can accommodate those tourists.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be honest, at no point do they even try to make it look like a crowd has gathered for this.
No.
But that's the idea, and this town is just a bad choice.
It is. I agree. A local woman raises a very honest, realistic question, or asks a question, about how the resident kids will feel about big-name cyclists taking over their town and not being allowed to enter the race themselves. Legit concern. And on the fly, Bess says that there will be a qualifying race to allow the chance for local youth to enter Hell Track.
I don't think that's a fair question. I don't think that's a fair question at all.
How is that not a fair question?
All right. Well, the NBA will do preseason games at random locations. Like they'll do the Raptors will maybe have a preseason game in Vancouver, right?
Mm-hmm.
The local basketball players don't complain that they can't play in an NBA game. How could they bring in these guys and into our backyard to play a sport? It's because they're the professionals. That's what a spectator event is for.
But it was also taking over the town.
Have you seen the Olympics?
Yes, I know. That is a big planned thing. Like, this is something that the townsfolk didn't have any say in. And it was like a 2-person committee that decided that was going to be there. But I also, when you mentioned something like Vancouver, you have other places to go. There is no real place to go here.
I mean, it's just
I totally understand what you're saying, and like I believe you are more right than I am in this scenario. But I think I do have good points there.
Sure.
Yeah, Best says that any local kid who earns their spot in the race will also win $10,000. Which seems unnecessary, but
after first saying the guy saying 20, and he's just like, no,
10.
No, 10. I have the money, but I'm not forking 20 grand.
Yeah.
This lady, this random lady in an assembly, asked a question that cost me 10 grand.
Yeah,
Just
we're cutting it there. We cut to the clubhouse, complete with dodgy camera movement, and Becky informs us that professional racer Bart Taylor is supposed to win the race with minimal effort. What's your take on this clubhouse?
It's just a shack.
It's a shack, yep. But I feel like it fits perfectly in the look and size of the town we're dealing with, where you can get away with having a shack and having a fire in it, no problem, and no one's going to say a thing. 80s West Coast, I guess. Well, not even coast, but 80s Western Canada.
I would have thought they'd maybe try to make it a little bit cooler. Something. Yeah. It could have been somebody's garage and they had like a little bike ram set up, like just to make it whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's like they came up with the idea of the clubhouse so they could have a few scenes of dialogue that didn't fit anywhere else.
Yep.
But yeah, a garage would have made much more sense. Anyway, we're introduced to Sergeant Smith, a completely useless character. He arrives and sounds the police siren, which cues a cat and mouse chase with Crew, ending with Crew ditching the fuzz and reconvening with his friends. Now, what is the problem between the kids and the sergeant? Is that ever explained? I
don't think it's a problem. I think it's clearly a game.
You think it is a game? Because he comes across as like a secondary villain.
You know what? The first time I saw him, I thought the same thing. But he clearly is playing with them.
It would have to be, because if there was a legit issue between him and the kids, you think with such a small town, he would just go to Crew's house.
Yeah, and not go out to their shack, which maybe they're trespassing, in which case...
Next to the lumberyard.
Yeah, in which case, go into the shack and tell them to get out, not honk your horn and wait for them to come out and play.
Yeah. It's just weird.
It is. Oh, I didn't say it wasn't weird.
Crew picks up his little sister from school, who is holding her own with the schoolyard bullies, and gives her a lift home on his bike.
What exactly did the schoolyard bullies do? The one kid says that Bart Taylor is the best.
Yeah.
And the other girl just asks, literally, are you waiting for Crew to come pick you up? It's like, these kids aren't really that bullyish.
Yeah, well, she ends up, calling the girl fat? A blimp, and kicking the guy in the shins repeatedly until the teacher stops her.
So ask yourself, who's the bully?
Yeah.
You got one kid just talking about, and he's wearing a Bart Taylor shirt. And he's just saying, Bart Taylor's the best, he's going to win. Yeah,
the kid's obviously a fan of a sports hero.
Yeah, and it's not like at that point Crew is racing against him, so it's not like you know what I mean? Like, maybe she says that Crew is great and he could beat Bart Taylor, but that's a schoolyard conversation. And the other girl just says, are you waiting for Crew to pick you up? Then there's the third kid who's calling names and kicking people. Which one's the bully?
Yeah, definitely. What's her name? Wesley?
Wesley Jones.
Yeah, she is a bully.
Mm-hmm.
But we next meet Mrs. Jones when the kids get home. She's played by Talia Shire, who played Adrian in the Rocky films.
Yeah.
Definitely stood out.
I recognize her.
Crew confronts his mother about wanting to qualify for Hell Track. I don't know how he heard about it already, because I thought that just went down. The issue is the race is the same day Crew is supposed to test for college.
The exact moment this happened, I had the thought, why doesn't he just take the SATs later?
Yeah, same.
They don't just happen one time. You know what happens one time? An opportunity to qualify for Hell Race.
Yep, and that would just remove another conflict in the movie.
I would like to point out that you finally don't ask me if I recognize an actor.
I assumed?
Well, you know how much I love the Rocky franchise.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, you missed the opportunity to get a yes. Okay, anyway.
At a local park, teens are
practicing...
No.
Is this not where he talks to his mom about it?
No.
No, okay, never mind.
No, this is where she just says no, because school's much more important, and then they cut to him practicing.
Oh, because I thought this was where,
No, this isn't the speech he gives her.
No, I meant when they were doing the dishes, and he tells his sister not to say anything to her mom, and then she blurts it out right away.
Yeah.
And then, conveniently, they have an empty garbage bin in the kitchen that Crew can just stuff his sister into to talk to... You didn't want to point that out at all.
Not overly, no.
He just picks her up and puts her in a garbage can. I don't know too many people who leave their
he also smacks it when he walks away, too.
I don't know too many people who leave their garbage can right next to their kitchen table. Usually it's in a corner or under a sink or something like that. But also that it's completely empty so that they can just stuff their sister into when they want privacy with their mom.
That makes sense.
All right. Okay.
Well, I told you how they were practicing for the qualifier at a weird, shoddy, tacked-together track lined with mattresses.
Oh, man. It's like he was telling his sister to put a lid on it. And then he literally put a lid on the garbage can. Oh, Crew's a genius.
Wow.
Sorry,
that was delayed. That was delayed.
That's literally when it came to my brain. Don't try to figure out how my mind works.
Crew repeatedly fails at sticking the landing, which goes against everything we just saw in his chase with the police.
this This scene is so bad because up until he nails the move in a later scene, there's no way anybody could guess what move he's trying to do. It's like in, I'm going to bring up wrestling again, but the flying nothing. He just goes off the ramp and flies off his bike. He doesn't try
and lands on his back.
Yeah, there's no attempt at a rotation or a move. He's just literally jumping off a ramp into nothing.
I do have to say, though, it looks dangerous as hell, but a whole lot of fun.
It does look dangerous as hell, and if he was to actually attempt the move that he later pulls off and miss with the with the mattresses, he's probably going to break his neck.
Oh, his back for sure, because he just lands flat every time.
But in this scene, he's just literally jumping up and down. Yep. It's like, what are you going for? And later on, right, Christian knows exactly what he's going to do. She gives him advice, and it's like, how?
Oh yeah, that makes no sense.
How do you see what he's doing and know what he's attempting to do? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead.
Well, here we get the worst-looking town parade of all time.
He really shows off all those tourists that showed up. There's like 10 people behind.
And it's just townsfolk. The Mongoose Racing Team, which is Bart Taylor and the Reynolds brothers, they complain about the state of the bumpkin town, while Duke Best and Bert and Timmer pat themselves on the back for how great the parade is and how it will lead them to great profit. Okay. Bart stops the team car mid-parade to hit on Christian Hollings, played by Lori Loughlin, who rejects his advances. He gets back in the car and tells the brothers that Christian doesn't fit the feel of the team. See, that's going well. A woman, this is my favorite part of the parade, a woman is standing at the barricades saying that she needs to get through, this is un-American, and she has a cake in the oven. So, questions. How is it unfair? How is it un-American? And why would you leave the house with a cake in the oven?
Has she never seen a parade before?
Yeah, it's such a small town, I'm sure word would carry quickly.
Maybe it's such a small town that is the only road she can take. There is no other path home.
Yeah, I have to hold this un-American parade.
And yeah, like, I would never leave my house with the oven on. And she's got just got a cake in the oven, and I'll run out and do some errands.
Yeah. Well, it's Crew to the rescue, who easily stops the parade by just driving in front of one of the vehicles and lets the woman drive through. Here he catches the eye of Christian before spotting the sergeant and riding over a car and into the distance before another chase begins. I don't see the need to ride over somebody's car.
You know, I'm starting to think maybe you're right. This guy is a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, you just go back to your car after a parade and there's tire marks on it and a dent in the hood.
I feel like there were people in it, though.
Oh, I didn't really notice that, but...
After school, Crew tries to
impress hold on, you missed a great part.
No, I didn't. I can tell because it's not in the notes.
And the police officer pulls up to Christian and says, "Have you seen some kids on a bike?"
Oh, yeah, I did miss that. That is pretty good.
She's like, "Yes. Look around you. There's a dude on top of a truck on a bike. We're surrounded by kids on bikes."
That was weird, though, that guy just spinning around on top of the truck.
Come on, police officer. Oh, geez, Sergeant Smith. How did you get your promotion?
Because he's the only police officer in the town.
I guess so.
Went straight to the sergeant.
And of course, he has to ride a police bike and not like a standard, patrol car.
Yeah, of course. I was saying after school, Crew tries to impress Katie with some tricks that she doesn't care. He has to go to the dance, and she mocks him before agreeing to it.
No, she doesn't agree to it. She just says, "I'm going to the dance."
I'm pretty sure she says, "I'll see you there." Because she brings up the point. She's like, "How are you going to pick me up with that?" I don't know. At the dance, Timmer tells the mayor that town morale has never been higher, and he's a shoo-in for re-election. I don't know why he thinks morale is high, because everybody there looks bored as hell. They're not even really dancing so much. It's just kind of... Some people are just standing there, and others are lightly swaying to bad music.
What election? Who's winning? When did politics come into this?
No idea. It's just another side character. No point whatsoever. I mean, they just use the mayor as an asshole character randomly throughout the movie, so I guess it's a way to keep him present.
I guess.
Crew does more stunts in the parking lot while Bart, the Reynolds boys, and some girls dance in the middle of the gym. I was really weirded out by the creepy synchronized dancing by the Reynolds brothers.
They're a dance team, right?
Yeah. It was just very uncomfortable. But at least we have this followed up with the Christian and Crew bicycle dance.
Okay, so remember earlier when I was talking about bikes just being thrown in unnecessarily?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, 100%, yeah. This scene is ridiculous, but I love it. A great song choice to Send Me an Angel. But the use of slow-mo here is fantastic. Completely pointless, but fantastic. Even like you get the light reflections off of the spokes of the wheels and everything. And what they're doing is impressive on screen. It just doesn't need to happen.
No, not at all. But hey, another like fantastic song to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Send Me an Angel.
I do enjoy my next note here. That just says, once the dance is over, Crew speeds off into the night. Christian runs after him, but can't keep up. If only she had a bicycle.
Why did he run away? Was the clock going to strike midnight and his bicycle was going to turn into a shoe?
He just booked it out of there. Nerves, maybe? I don't know. But we next get a pointless scene of Bart and two women going to the diner and the mayor forcing Crew's friends to give up their table for the BMX star. And of course, Crew is the server who has to clear the table for them.
So another point onto how the mayor is just there to be a jerk character, but like, I guess we're to believe that the mayor owns the diner too?
I don't know. I don't get that feeling, but I'm also confused by a lot of the stores we see, because I get the feeling that the diner, the general store, and like their spot where those two women are picking out clothing are all in the same building.
I mean, that would be what the set has you believing, but you think the mayor would at least tell the owner of the diner, if he is not it himself, that, hey, go get rid of these kids.
Yeah. And I think I left out every reference to the cook, because I just found him really annoying.
I mean, he's only got a couple of scenes, but one of the two at least is very annoying.
Yeah, well, especially where it's the back and forth between him and Crew. Now, there is a scene later on where he creepily eats a stranger's popcorn.
That's the one that I found super annoying.
Yeah, it was very annoying. I didn't like that character at all. I didn't even have his name down.
It was Bob, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because the one part, like the whole play up on the first time he interacts with Crew calls him Blob as a joke. Even though he's
Bob.
not even...
My name's Bob.
Yeah, he's not even that, like, rotund of a person that you would call him Blob. Like, maybe cast a bigger fella then, but that's why I know his name was Bob, because of this terrible Blob joke.
Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't like the character.
Yeah.
Next is the scene that you were talking about earlier, because we go back to the makeshift track in the park, and Crew still can't land his trick. But this time Christian is there watching him and gives him pointers, and after another failed backflip attempt, he finally sticks the landing. Because that's the only way we find out that that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah. After telling them to remove the mattresses.
Yep.
Or he's like, oh, this is too safe. I want you to break your neck. So get rid of the mattresses, and then I'll know. And you know what? I was going to ask how did she find them, but this town is so small, it was probably the one park.
And flat. You could probably look over and just see him like shooting up in the air off in the distance.
Over the horizon of a building, you see him flying a couple times.
And I felt really bad that I got so excited for this part, but when she's like, just lead with your head and your body will follow, I expect him to do a complete over-rotation and face plant.
You wanted him to fail?
Yeah.
Ouch.
I don't really like Crew that much.
This is our hero, man.
No, it might be your hero.
He's the people's hero. This is rad.
Okay, you're right. I guess we are led to believe he's a little bit more likable now, but he's still doing shitty things.
Fair.
He and stupid things, which I'll get to in a second. He and Christian walk their bikes along the road out of town, and we're treated to a beautiful shot towering snow-capped mountains in the background really emphasize how small Cochrane really is. It does look like the tallest building in the city is maybe 3 stories. But the entirety of the scene is just to show the two of them forming some sort of a relationship. But my favorite part of this relationship is Crew taking Christian ass sliding, which is just riding down a logging slide that leads into a river.
Why?
Honestly, that seems to be the dumbest thing you could do.
I mean, earlier when they're leaving the lumber yard, Luke and Becky say they're going to go ass sliding and ask if he wants to join them. If you don't know that means going down a makeshift water slide, ass sliding with a U2, I'm not into that kind of... This is a BMX movie, people.
Yeah, and it's not a makeshift slide, man. It is meant to get shorn... what's the word I'm looking for?
Logs?
Barked trees. Yeah, logs down into the river to send them down to the mill.
Seems safe.
Yeah, it seems really safe. No splinters there.
But just because you do it in an unsafe place doesn't change the activity. You're just going down a water slide.
Yep.
But
Christian tells him that her plan is to go to college. Crew admits that he's skipping the SATs. I hate how this is a plot point. To qualify for the race. And she is the voice of reason, says he can always take the test at a later date.
Exactly.
Just like her sister. Yeah, 6 months. Do it again.
The thing that bothered me about this, though, is how dry they were for having gone down water slides.
Oh, yeah. And they weren't even in the sun.
No. It's like she picks up a rock to splash behind him before they have this serious conversation. And I'm just looking at him like, well, first of all, he should be a lot wetter from going down a water slide. I mean, later they jump into a river and they're more wet. And, like, why are they so dry that it would bother him that she throws a rock behind him to splash him? Like,
my biggest complaint here is that she's throwing a giant rock at the ankles of somebody who's trying to qualify for a BMX race.
no, she's throwing it behind. She just wants to splash him.
I know, it's a splash. That's a massive rock, though. If he just stopped walking, that would have hit him.
Well, they were standing still.
No, they were walking.
No, they were standing still looking over the water. I think you need to rewatch this movie again, sir.
I could have sworn they had turned around and they were heading back along that little rocky path leading out of the water, and that's when that happened.
Nope.
But I could be wrong.
Nope, this was before the conversation. They were standing still.
Okay. Well, he asks if she'll go see him in the qualifier, and they kiss.
I feel like she's going to be at the qualifier regardless, because it seems like everybody involved in this endeavor is at all of the events. But yes.
I also find it weird that the pro teams that are already in the race have to qualify.
Yeah.
Unless you have to race against the pros to qualify so you can race against the pros, in which case the qualifier makes no sense. Well, we get a pointless scene of Crew and the cook bickering. Oh yeah, there it is. At the diner, and then Crew is at home trying to forge his mother's signature, which really can't be that hard, but he's been trying for 2 hours. His sister enters, copies the signature without issue.
I've been here busting my ass trying to do this for 2 hours. Where were you? Brushing my teeth.
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours! It would have been better if she was like, you locked me in a garbage can again.
Yeah, you just see the can roll into frame and she falls out of it.
Where have you been for 2 hours? I've been trying to get out of here.
Gasping for air.
Oh, you forgot to put air holes in this one.
Well, it's the day of the qualifying races. And probably the best part of the movie, like the best of the movie, is from this point on. Mrs. Jones is doing laundry in the basement while the television is on, broadcasting the event. Not sure why she would be watching this. Because she believes Crew is at school taking his SATs.
And she doesn't seem like the kind of person who's going to want to watch bike races.
No, she doesn't care about it at all. But the qualifiers begin, and we get another montage with another great song of Thunder in Your Heart.
Oh my god, this is so good.
Honestly, after I watched this, I decided buying the soundtrack.
Really?
Yeah, it is so good.
It's not just that the song is so good, the placement is perfect.
Yeah, they did a great job with that. This is where Mrs. Jones sees her son on TV and is pissed. During the last heat, Crew wipes out and gets nailed in the face by another racer. I don't know if you saw that part.
Oh, I saw the wipeout, and in my mind,
that wipeout looked so bad. And then he gets up to his knees, and the handlebars, you can hear the handlebars hit him in the head.
Luke's bike gets bent, and that's why he has to, I guess, leave the qualifiers?
Yeah, he has to bow out.
And
he can't compete anymore.
The spill that he takes for those to get bent and disqualify him is nowhere near this guy getting just completely bowled over. But he's good.
Oh, yeah.
He's all good. No problem.
He looked like he was murdered.
Yep, he's good.
He eventually passes the finish line as one of the final three and guarantees himself a spot for Hell Track. But nobody seems to care that during that last stretch of the race, he rode out of bounds as a means to get ahead of everybody else on pavement.
If you go back and watch that montage,
yeah,
multiple people go out of bounds constantly.
I guess I was just focusing on him more so because he used that as an opportunity to get ahead of a large group of people because he was not going to win that if he stayed on the actual track.
Yeah, they were kind of loosely using those boundaries. I don't even know if they really were boundaries so much as just markers for the path. Go this direction. But
I use this as a reason to strengthen my belief that our hero is not really a hero.
I do like how before the final race, Christian goes to tell him like where he's at and he just needs to finish in the top three. And he looks like he is done.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
Nothing left.
Okay, what do I have here? Mrs. Jones shows up to the race and gets in an argument with her son about his schooling. Problems with Crew's reasoning here. 1, this is the only thing he's good at. He's 17. He doesn't know that. 2, now he has the chance to be the best in the world. Why does he think that?
Because he's going up against the best in the world. Bart Taylor.
Yeah, he's going up against a pro team that don't claim to be the best in the world. This is a tiny mountain town. He didn't even make it to first place in the qualifier. So I'm not sure how he thinks he's best in the world.
He didn't say he's the best in the world. He said he has a chance to be the best in the world. Anybody who qualifies and is in the race has a chance to win it.
Yes. That's a weird way of thinking, though. He could be like, now I have a chance to win this race, win this money. But no, he immediately goes to a chance to be best in the world.
My argument with his mom in this scene would be so much quicker. Be like, hey, I just won 10 grand in half a day. 10 grand in $86.
Yep. Well, his third point, though, is that he can take the SATs anytime. Valid point.
Very valid point, yes.
And 4, this is the only opportunity he'll have at a chance like this. False. Go to another race, dude.
Well, it's possible that might not be, feasible because he'd have to leave his small town. He clearly has no money. He has to work a paper route and a diner job while going to school.
Yeah, but no one's going to be working 40 hours a week while going to high school.
Yeah, well, how's he going to take time off
You're very apologetic for this guy because he's going to take his SATs in 6 months.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have the money to go into another big town and pay all their tourist fees like people are here for hotel and board.
Maybe he just has to work hard. How about that?
To be fair, that is one thing they make him out to be. He is a student who has at least 2 jobs. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gunning for him to be an idiot, and you're very apologetic about him. And I think we both have valid points that just, I don't know. It's a weird character. I don't like it.
I honestly, it should have just been, Mom, would I have won 10 grand taking my SATs today? No. Done.
Tell you what, I'll give you half. Oh, all right. Promises to take the SATs in 6 months, and she finally agrees. Yeah, that was easy.
It's not an unreasonable request.
No, she just makes him promise. He's like, that was my idea anyway.
It's not like that was a compromise. You're right. His original idea is, I'm going to try to do the race, and then I'll take my SATs later. That's exactly what he offered.
Yeah. And if he were forever stuck in this town, all the points that you brought up, I would agree with. It's very, very rational way of thinking.
Yeah.
Duke wants to find out who Crew's racing for and sends his lackey to investigate.
Sorry. Even if he took his SATs, how are we to believe this guy would have the money for college?
How do we know he would do well?
Well, that's true. We don't actually know what kind of a student he is. He could be a dummy and fail the SATs entirely.
Yeah.
Huh. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said that next we get the part where Duke sends his lackey to figure out who Crew's racing for.
Why? Why do you think that that's a thing? You are literally the one that said a local kid could qualify. You just watched a local kid qualify. Why would you think that he races for someone?
And that's what I like about this, because I think he realizes his error, and that's why, as the movie progresses, we just see him changing the rules of the race. Because they have a brief meeting at Duke's car. He asks the boy if he wants to be the name that brings BMX to all of the small towns across the country. But Crew turns down the offer, stating they don't think the same. I'm just going to jump to the reason why he turns it down. We find out later that to get that promotion of sorts, Crew has to throw the entire race. My question here is, if he's worried that Crew is going to win and make everybody look bad, and he is that good, just sign him.
Well, and
sign him to your team. You still win.
You know, I had that same thought. I had that exact same thought. But then I thought about it, and he is a little bit more specific later, that they have tons of merchandise with Bart Taylor's face on it going to the stores. Not Mongoose Racing, Bart Taylor. Right? So Bart would have to win, even if he's part of that team, for people. Like, nobody's going to go in and be like, oh, I love Crew who races for Mongoose, but here's a Bart Taylor shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in my
that does
mind,
make sense.
In my mind, just do it. Like, at this point, now obviously it's not going to make sense for an 80s movie because you have to have the field goal triumphant moment. But it's like at this point, you think, maybe I can win and make, something of myself. But if he lost, he'd have nothing. If he threw the race, he'd be a signed performer.
Yeah. And the face of BMX.
Well, for small town. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you figure there would be sponsorship money as well as the chance, like if he's the face of BMX for small towns, he's probably going to these races as well.
That he could win.
Yep.
And then finally have a chance at being the best.
Yep. This guy just has to be the best the first time out. What, you can't beat Bart Taylor on your third try? You're a little too full of yourself, man.
And I mean, they do take the path of like trying to Tanya Harding him, but they never really go into that. It's just kind of mentioned.
That's true. Yeah.
Back at the race grounds, Duke yells at Bart for not taking Crew seriously. Much like Bart didn't take Crew seriously. I find that weird. Crew arrives to register for the race, but is told that he isn't on the list because he doesn't have a company sponsor. This is news to both he and Christian, but that's because Duke is changing the rules to try and keep Crew out of the race. Timur overhears this and is displeased. Now, I guess this does make sense for Timur's change of character, because he is a local businessman and he does want his townsfolk to do well. Christian explains the sponsorship angle to Crew. Word spreads among Crew's friends. Wes shows Crew a shirt she made for him, and a woman says she'll buy some for her kids. Everyone sees this as an opportunity to make money and create a company to sponsor Crew. The RAD Racing brand is born, and the friends band together to make t-shirts for promotion, and I would totally wear that shirt. It looks badass.
Not the one that his sister has at the beginning, where mom is like...
garbage.
Yeah, that one is absolutely terrible. But the later ones, like the red ones,
yeah,
they're pretty sweet.
Great.
Yeah.
I
don't like the one that he's wearing later where the logo is on both sides, the front and the back. But
yeah, no. That makes sense for the race.
On one or the other, I would totally wear that. But if Mr. Timur doesn't like what's going on, why doesn't he just sponsor him? He's a rich business guy.
Well, he does eventually.
Eventually. But
I'm curious to know how all of these kids know how to screen print t-shirts.
I don't know. But they got quite the... Are you going into this now?
No, I just kind of brushed over it.
Oh. Well, they have this whole operation at the school where apparently you get your homework done for you if you come in and help make merchandise.
It's a sweet gig.
It is, but first of all,
Yeah, downside, it's crew doing your homework.
No, they clearly have like.
No, I know they've got the nerdy ones.
Yeah, but like, are they just allowed to be at the school at night?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, you could do that here.
Really?
Yes, had to let people know that you were there.
For this type of operation, we're gonna make us.
Oh no, you never tell them why you're there.
Exactly.
I have to go back to it, man. It's still a sweet shirt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Next is a weird scene with Bart and the Reynolds brothers driving by and seeing the RAD racing booth at the race grounds. Bart makes a statement that immediately removes his status as antagonist. He acknowledges that crew will race, and best case scenario is that everyone will know who really is the champ. I thought that was great. Maybe I'm looking at this from the antagonist perspective, but like if the bad guy, who isn't really shown to be a bad guy, just more like an asshole, is like, hey man, I'm glad you're in the race. Hopefully now we can find out who really is the best. You're like, yeah, that's fair.
Tell me, okay? Aside from hitting on Christian and then saying he wants her off the team, what point does he do something that makes him a villain?
I think they just kind of portray him with that massive ego.
They imply
it. Yeah, and that's it.
That's it. At no other point do they do anything that make him a villain.
But even with the Bart Taylor comment in the schoolyard, it sets him up as the antagonist, which is not accurate. That would be Duke Best, I would say.
Oh, easily.
Speaking of which, Duke sees the booth and has the rules rewritten again. And then we go to another montage.
I just find it funny because even with a rule book, like even with the guy who kind of runs this organization, there would be a committee. Like you can't just change the rules like that.
Honestly, I love how all of Duke's problems, that he has to change the rules repeatedly, try and sabotage Crew's attempts at getting into the race, all came about because one woman's like, don't you think the local kids might be upset?
Yeah, this lady, like I said, she asked the $10,000 question.
And just makes his life a living hell.
Yep.
She's the true hero here.
If that lady missed that meeting that day, none of this would have happened.
No, the race would have been over already.
Yep.
The montage is Crew and Christian stunting, followed by Crew reminiscing over the sense of freedom he felt when he was 4 years old, and his dad let go of his bike for the first time. Problem with this is them ramping their bikes into the lake or river. That if that's deep at all, you're losing that bike.
Yeah, there's a reason that in the Gob video for soda, they have light preservers on the handlebars so that the bike floats.
No, it makes sense. It's just not a reference I expected to hear on this show.
Can you think of another reference where you've seen people jump into a lake with bikes?
I'm sure I've seen it, but no.
Because I can't. That's the only one I got. And I think it's a very appropriately topical one.
Yeah.
Gob is in the news all the time today.
Constantly. How could you ever forget Wonder Band Gob?
Hey, I like Gob.
That's fine.
Just move forward here.
Duke approaches the RAD Racing booth and asks how much money they've made selling shirts. At $10 a pop and 48 shirts sold are sitting at $480. Unfortunately for them, the new rule states they need $50,000 in sales to be eligible as sponsor for the rider. Crew speeds off in anger. Bart watches from the Mongoose booth and seems displeased. And again, I bring up, how does this guy have a character arc without really being in the film?
Or how is he portrayed as the villain? He doesn't do anything villainous.
No. I don't. It's weird. He does not fit any mold for this kind of movie, I think. Because normally you see a movie like this and he is the bad guy.
Yep.
Timmer is pissed with Duke's actions. He warns Best before riding off on his own bicycle. Christian finds Crew at the stupid clubhouse and turns around his defeatist attitude. And this somehow makes Crew better at delivering newspapers.
Because he's motivated now.
I guess. He seemed pretty motivated before.
Yeah, but now he's really motivated.
You're right. I'm way, way wrong on this one.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad you finally see it my way.
I am the wrong one.
Yeah.
And the mean one.
No, I was just saying about this scene. Now he's really motivated, that's all.
Town meeting has the locals yelling at the mayor about not letting crew into the race now. The sergeant takes the stage and lectures the crowd about not letting crew race.
Because it's the crowd's decision. Yo, Sergeant, we're on your side here, man.
Yeah, you're reiterating our point.
Maybe turn and look at that guy who's actually doing it.
Yeah, I found that funny. Guy's not really an actor, though. Well, he did a bit of acting here and there. He's a former pro wrestler. Give him a break. Or talk to the director to make him do the role properly.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Crew and Christian make up and share some ice cream. A random girl tells Crew that the town is having a meeting about him. Everybody is coming together to raise money to allow Crew to race, but they're still $27,000 short.
I would like to point out, because you went over that very quickly, and I love to point out weird things. She forgave him pretty quick for him just pointing at a poster of people sharing ice cream. The poster. Oh, okay.
Now, the entire time I'm watching this movie, I'm getting a weird feeling about something that's missing. And really, this movie to me feels like we need to band together and save the rec center. Seriously, it has that vibe. Like, the townsfolk have put in thousands and thousands of dollars for one person. You'd think it would be a place like Save the Place where our youth can gather and have fun. And it does work here. It just seems like that, that formula laid over another film.
It is what it is.
Well, miraculously, the next day, enough money has been raised to allow Crew to compete. Duke tells the Reynolds brothers to intentionally take him out. He then confronts Timmer about the $27,000 in shirts he purchased from RAD Racing. Timmer flips off Duke and walks off.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
And really goes along with what you're saying before, but why doesn't he just sign him and like he cares about the town? Yeah, he just dropped $27,000 on shirts.
Could have done it sooner and saved us a lot of effort, but all right.
And the other townspeople a lot of money too. I'm pretty sure a lot of them couldn't afford it, but they did it anyway. Jesus, selfish. Christian wishes Crew the best, and the sergeant does the same. And now we let the race begin. I didn't really cover a lot of this race because it's mainly just stunt shots.
But with another fantastic soundtrack song.
Yes, that is true. But apparently they had to stop the production of the movie here and lower the starting wall because everybody was too scared to drop in from that height.
Oh, really?
And if you look throughout the race, it looks like several serious injuries happened during this.
I will say, I felt that the shot of each of the competitors and naming their, like...
Oh, the town?
Like, where they're from and who they are?
It varied so much.
It varied so much, but it's like, I don't need you to go over 20 different racers. Like, why is this going on so long?
The inconsistency, though, is what got me there. Because it's like, so-and-so racing for so-and-so from San Diego, California. Next guy. So-and-so from Canada. Next guy. Racing for GT, this dude. Like, why? Why are you sometimes saying the name, like the name of the town or city they're from and the state? Why are you just sometimes saying a country? Why are you leaving out both sometimes and just saying the team they're racing for?
This is where you have just a scene with the commentator guy who was talking to Duke Best previously.
Yeah.
Just set up the set, like, we are at Hell Race with the heavy favorite Bart Taylor racing where Mongoose and the local boy Crew who is like the Cinderella story. That's it. Just move on.
And speaking of moving on, Bart proves that he's even better than we're led to believe by waiting. He's way ahead of everybody, and he waits for Crew to catch up. Not sure why. He wanted to see who was the best, and he was already winning, but it shows him wanting to give Crew a chance. And of course, Crew wins the race. Bart congratulates him, and Crew invites him to join the RAD Racing team. The two raise Bart's bike in celebration and roll credits. What a fast ending.
Whoa, it happened fast. Hey, you get no payoff on, like, he won. The end.
Yeah. They could have even, like, pushed it a second further and just show Bart putting on the RAD Racing shirt. and be like, this is a perfect setup for a sequel.
I don't know.
I liked raising the bike together, though.
Yeah. My biggest complaint with the actual racing scene is, one, they really don't explain why Bart wants to see that he's the best. All you would have to do is when whatever the twins' names are, the Reynolds brothers.
The Reynolds, yep.
When they take him out, like, oh, Bart looked back and saw that. And he realized that he wasn't winning fairly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very light explanation, but it's enough.
Yep.
And the other thing is, he stops to wait for him, like, under an overpass in a really weird shot. You know where a good place would have been for him to stop? At the top of the ramp before the last lap.
Yep.
Make it more cinematic.
Yeah, that would have been great. But, like, again, this isn't a well-established director. I'm not very familiar with the writers. I have their names, but I don't really know what else they had done. Nothing had jumped out. But, yeah, there's a lot of areas in this movie that would welcome some improvement and a little bit more focus. It's fun, though.
Personally, I don't even like the fact that Bart Taylor let him catch up and win.
No.
It feels like I mean, again, Bart Taylor is supposed to be the best. He's got money, but like that was a $100,000 gamble you just had. Make it like a Rocky moment where he wins.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
But then the two of them go back to the track like later that day, and it's just the two of them to see who's the best, right? Well, even though Crew didn't win, he won because you could make it, okay, he loses the race. He comes in second to Bart. But then that guy who Duke Best is sucking up to with all the merchandise approaches him and says, hey, I really liked what you did out there. I'd like to sign you. And even though he didn't win the race or the $100,000, he won because he got noticed, he got signed, and he's going to be moving on with that. And then you can even do the like stop cut like they do in Rocky, and they just both start going down the ramp, and you don't actually know who wins.
Or you go full Rocky, have him get signed, then they race together in the next one, and he actually wins this time.
Fair, but I mean...
You already have Adrian there.
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, without the idea that there's going to be a sequel, right?
You could take that in so many different ways, though.
I mean, that's how I would...
a lackluster ending.
I would have had him lose and then still get signed. And I mean, then it would have actually made sense to introduce that character because they already tell us, like, when Duke is already talking, you know, behind their backs about how they got all this merchandise going into the stores, we know that's happening. You don't need to introduce a figurehead for, I don't know what, the manufacturer to be like, oh, you know, we don't know yet, unless you're going to do something like that, in which case it would make sense. Because, he lost, but he came in second. He had a gutsy performance after getting, you know, like, sabotaged, essentially. And we, like, this random character who was introduced for no reason now has a purpose, because he's going to sign him. And even though he didn't win, he won the career he wanted.
Yeah, you're putting a lot more thought into this movie than I am.
I mean, because to me, they don't make Bart out to be a villain, I mean, very well, if that's their intention, throughout the entire movie. So now they also just made him a moron by giving up the chance to win $10,000 or $100,000. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you're getting worked up, man.
I didn't even think about any of this until right now. So
I just had fun watching an 80s sports movie.
Here I am rooting for the unhappy ending, or the not as happy ending, where he still gets out of his small town.
Way too brief ending.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. The ending was way too brief.
Yeah. But we know why this didn't get a sequel.
Why?
Because it made no money.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Looking
at this film, how much do you think the budget was? Hey, keep everything in mind. Look at all those bikes. Look at the track prep. Assuming they were paying Cochrane, Alberta, for use of all of their public places and whatnot, and private areas.
Honestly, I feel like none of that could have cost that much money. $2 million?
$3 million.
Oh, geez, that's high. They didn't even have any name, like, any big, really big-time actors. I mean, even
I assume they had some sports stars, but I don't know the sport well enough.
Yeah. And even then, when you have like a minor sport like that, like they're not getting big money for those appearances.
Yeah.
Right? But I just, even back then, I can't imagine that many bikes with the, yeah, you know what? 3 million's fine.
Yeah.
I would have guessed 2, but even 3, whatever.
No. 2 is how much it made.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
The ratings, though. The ratings are what I'm curious about here, because IMDb gave it a 6.9 out of 10 from, viewer votes.
Aggregate score, yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, the critics for the tomato meter gave it 42%, but
Okay.
the audience score is 90.
Man, that is all across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what to expect going forward with like 80s sports films now, because looking at critics and audience scores, it seems like they flip-flop. But like one's always way stronger than the other, but it's never just the audience or the critics.
Yeah. Whatever. Those are just numbers. Who cares?
Yeah. Yes, numbers.
All right. Should we get into the awards? Or do you have any
Yeah.
more anecdotes for us?
No, that's it.
All right. So, this was a fan pick. I do have Craig's picks. So we'll lead off with those, and then we'll go to our typical order. Wow, words are tough. Okay, so for worst performance, Craig had Bart Connor as Bart Taylor, listing any punk could have acted this same role. Nothing special. All right. Ben, you lead us off on worst performance.
Bart Connor as Bart Taylor.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and why?
I felt like he was on screen long enough, or at least a presence enough, that he should be considered for a candidate, or somebody I could vote for this, because his presence is used as a constant limit or level to achieve for crew, and he's always the smug bully type character that you get, like almost like Johnny from Karate Kid, but none of that comes across. And I put him as my worst performance before I really thought about the fact that he's just kind of there and he's just trying to do his thing. But
Yeah.
It just seems like they could have either put him as the out and out nemesis for crew, or actually make him a more likable character. Instead, he just kind of stood there and did nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't pick him because while he wasn't the best performance, he didn't really do anything. Most of his statements were pretty neutral. I mean, it's not like they even put any weight of being a villain on his shoulders where he had to act deceitful or anything. He was just there.
Yeah, he was just there.
Which, I mean, it's not going to win you best performance, but I don't think it's enough to justify worst performance.
Curious about worst, then.
I went with Bill Allen as Christopher Crew Jones. And the reason for that is because, unlike Bart, this guy actually had to portray like quite the emotional spectrum. And he actually came off pretty neutral in everything. Here is this like life-changing opportunity, and he's arguing with his mom that, she doesn't want him to go. He should be taking his SATs. This guy is supposed to be devastated. And I just get the feeling like he's like, oh, okay. And then he wins the race. And he's got 10 grand. And even before he starts getting, screwed over, and he's, again, talking to his mom, he's supposed to be ecstatic, and he's just like, yeah, oh, okay. Hey, this guy had no range at all.
I do have to go take a step back for my pick for worst performance and Craig's. We have to remind ourselves that Bart Connor is not an actor. He's an Olympic gymnast.
I mean, cool. For that, I think he did fine.
Yeah, I have to agree now.
Yeah. Oh, so you're second guessing it now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, fair enough. Okay.
As we talked about it, I started to like him more and more.
But yeah, maybe not a likable character, but he ain't a dislikable character. I mean,
no, it's true.
He's one of the more noble ones. Every time they show him, he's kind of in the background, kind of observing all of the corruption. And then he's the one who's like, I don't know, let's have a fair race. Like, this guy didn't do anything bad in the movie except for hit on Christian. And even that didn't necessarily come off as that bad. She just rejected him.
Yeah.
I get, yeah, he said, oh, maybe she's not part of the team. But, like, that's just, no, that's heartbreak. Whatever.
All right, I'm going to change my pick.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go with Lori Loughlin.
What?
As Christian.
Okay.
Just bland.
All right,
without excuse.
Okay.
Granted, she was a lot younger, but I think that the character they gave her, she could have done a lot with.
I think that's the first time we've ever had a pick change in the middle of an award.
It might be. I think it's justifiable, though. I agree with what you're saying about Bart Connor.
Yeah, maybe just viewed under another lens, right?
Yeah.
All right, so for best performance, going to Craig again, he had Ray Walston as Bert Timmer, and he wrote, I was cheering for Burton to help Crew and save him from getting disqualified. I don't know what that has to do with the performance, but awesome. Thanks, Craig.
Picking Walston because his character had good intentions.
Well, and you know what? That's just the reasoning. As for picking him for the best character, I have no complaint about it. I mean...
Oh, no, he's a great character.
He was a great character. You know, he came, like, and this is a guy where, yeah, at first you thought maybe he's going to be a thorn in these punk kids' side. And then he has that kind of revolutionary, oh no, he's actually a nice guy. And he's rooting for them and he's cheering for them. Then he has a couple funny moments where he's like flipping off Duke. And even like the subtle lines, like when Duke says, you know, you remind me of a guy that, you know, what is he, sticks to his conventions or something like that, or stands behind what he believes in. And he has this like very subtle, you remind me of something I would find on the bottom of my shoe and it's starting to stink, right? Like he doesn't have as much screen time, but I can absolutely see why Craig picked it. I just don't get the reasoning that he wrote for why he picked it.
You're definitely going to disagree with my best performance.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to have to ask for to change the order and ask for your best performance here.
Bill Allen as Crew.
No! What are you doing?
Yeah. It's because I disliked him so much, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. He just played the character in such a way that it made me irritated. And I think it actually works with his character because, again, as we've been chatting about this movie, I'm like, this guy he sucks.
What does that have to do with the performance, though?
Because the way he delivers his lines, it makes me feel like he is that character that would make those poor choices. He made that really believable to me. It doesn't like I don't feel like that character fits in this movie because he's an asshole, but he plays that role perfectly for me.
All right. I'm scratching my head on that one, but I mean, it's your pick. I can't disagree.
He also fits the role of like the 80s teen sports movie like perfectly.
Oh yeah, and the age frame too. Yeah. He's totally a 17-year-old.
Oh, 100%.
Well, hey, guess what? You're going to disagree with my best performance.
Better not be Lori Loughlin.
It's Lori Loughlin.
God. All right, why?
Just cuz.
What did she do? What did she do that was so good that she got best performance?
She wasn't as bad as everybody else. That's what she did.
Oh, Jack Weston was better in the movie than she was.
Who?
Duke Best.
I guess. No, I'm going with Lori Loughlin.
Oh my God. All right. Fine.
And that's the reason that I'm given. All right. Most memorable line or moment. Craig has when the police officer tells Crew to go balls out before the hell track race.
Yeah, there are some lines in this movie that are absolutely terrible, but just stick out in your mind.
Well, I think I can see why he did it that way, or why he picked that one.
Yeah.
Because the delivery of the police officer for most of his lines is just so, I don't know, like Sergeant Slaughterish. Like, it's just...
Oh, yeah, very wooden.
It's very wooden. It's very tone deaf, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, cool, he's rooting for him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean... I don't remember our order, but I'm going to go now because of the reasons
you would actually be starting most memorable line.
There are so many lines in this movie that make you just stop and go, what?
Okay.
And this is a perfect one for me because I'm like, first of all, saying this one line is very strange.
Okay.
Secondly, you could have said anything else, and it would have been better.
Okay.
And that is Crew going, God, what I wouldn't give to go ass sliding with you right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, hey, it was a nominee for me, but it wasn't what I went with.
It's just so out of place. And like I get the connection to them having fun times.
Yeah, he's saying like, oh, I don't like all this stress. I don't like all this tension and pressure. I'd rather just be reliving these fun moments with you that are carefree and enjoyable. But it just doesn't help that the term they use is ass sliding.
Yeah, agreed. And it just sticks out. It's by far nowhere near best line, but most memorable for me.
Mine is the best line. Without question.
All right.
It's when the little girl asks Wes if she's waiting for Crew to pick her up, and she just has a complete character 180 and says, "No, you blimp, I'm meditating."
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh, that little kid. She had such a pizzazz. I loved it.
I would call it bad attitude, but sure, we'll go with pizzazz.
All right.
Memorable scene?
I think we're all going to have the same one for this. But let's see what Craig wrote. Senior prom dance. The bike tricks with dual bike, air quotes, dancing, while Send Me an Angel played in the background. Great scene.
Yeah, I went with bike dance.
Well, I start this one, dude.
No, you don't. I already did.
Well, I mean, I'm supposed to.
My apologies.
Hey, in the end, you started all of them because I made you start.
Let's just, okay, tell you what, next time we hang out, we'll have a bike dance and make up.
No.
I'll send you an angel.
I don't even have a BMX.
Well, that's a problem.
Well, you know what? Your idea was deflating.
Nailed it.
Is that what caused the deflation? Anyway.
Yes, that's what I was going for.
I think it's pretty obvious I picked the dancing bike scene as well. And it's in my opinion, it's so bad.
It is absolutely ridiculous, but it's so enjoyable.
It's also the reason why it's so memorable, because I don't think anybody's remembering anything else from this movie.
Yeah, I guarantee if you're watching that with a group of friends and no one says anything about that when it hits the screen, you'd be looking around being like, the fuck is going on here? Anybody find this weird?
Is this a common occurrence? I don't remember any 80s scenes in movies where they're dancing on a bike in the gym.
Like, I think the only thing that could make this dance any better is if he runs away immediately when they finish.
Yeah, because why? Why does he run away? I don't get it. All right.
Yep.
Benny.
Yeah.
What is your final recommendation?
It's a tough one, man. I did actually enjoy the film. It is riddled with problems. I think I wouldn't recommend people to watch it by themselves, but definitely a movie to throw on with a small group. There's some really fun spots, some dumb spots, some ridiculous over-the-top spots. But there is some heart behind it. And coming from a director without a lot of credits behind him, it's fun. It's a fun movie. I would recommend it, but it's definitely not for everyone's solo viewing. Okay.
I mean, that seems to be a pretty common recommendation for our movies. Watch it with a group of people.
Yeah, but there's a lot of movies that I pick that I've watched by myself repeatedly that are fantastic.
Fair enough. You didn't pick this one. Craig did.
Exactly.
This movie is so bad. Like, it is objectively a bad movie. In almost every way. Plot, cinematography, acting. It is, well, except for soundtrack. Soundtrack is absolutely stellar and knocks it out of the park.
Top notch.
And maybe shirt design, because I didn't even think about that until you said it. But man, that was a really sweet shirt. But it is, other than that, a terrible movie. characters for no reason, plot points that go nowhere. Like, it's a bad movie that I absolutely loved and could not wait to watch a second time for the review. And I would recommend that anybody who loves 80s watches this movie. I don't care if you're by yourself, with a group of people. This is a great movie, but it is also objectively a terrible movie.
Yeah, like, if anybody wants to watch a shitty version of The Karate Kid, then, well, I mean, I've watched Karate Kid too, but if you want to watch a really shitty version of The Karate Kid and still have fun, watch RAD.
Yeah, maybe that's more of an accurate, this is a bad movie, but it's so much fun.
Yep.
Anyway, those were our thoughts on 1986's RAD. If you want to share your feedback, let us know your thoughts or your award winners on it. You can hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at BSBargainBin, Facebook.com/BSBargainBin, or you can hit us up with the old archaic email method of bsbargainbin@outlook.com. That being said, Ben.
Yeah.
What movie are we riding into next week?
Okay, question. Do you remember Batman Forever?
I remember it was a movie.
Do you remember Batman and Robin?
Ice to Meet You?
Yeah. Those are two bad movies. Really, really bad movies.
I mean, I remember... Look who you're talking to. You think I don't remember Batman and Robin? I'm the guy who had an Arnold movie collection.
Yes.
And that movie was never in it, I should point out. I think I was up to 22, 23 Arnold movies, and I did not have Batman and Robin.
Speaks volumes.
I had Junior, and I didn't have Batman and Robin.
Well, it's because Junior's a better movie than Batman and Robin.
I'd have to go back, but I don't want to revisit those two.
Those are two terrible movies.
Mm-hmm.
But they were directed by the same guy.
Okay.
Who also directed some of my all-time favorite movies. And next week we're going to cover that one, because we're moving a year up from 86. We're going to 1987, and we'll be talking about The Lost Boys.
Michael and Sam have just moved to Santa Carla, California. They're about to discover its secret.
Notice anything unusual about Santa Carla yet?
No. It's a pretty cool place. If you're a Martian.
Or a vampire.
So where are you? The flying nun?
I'm your brother, Sammy. Help me!
Stay back! Stay back!
What's happening to me, Star?
Get yourself a good sharp steak. Drive it right through his heart.
You're a vampire, Michael. My own brother, a damn blood-sucking vampire.
Oh, you wait till Mom finds out, buddy. When a vampire buys it, it's never a pretty sight.
Michael, they're coming! Oh, shit!
I freaking love you, Ben. Until next week, guys, all the best.
All the best, guys.